The tussle between the judiciary and the executive over the Supreme Court Collegium issue has taken a new turn. Recently, the government asked the Supreme Court Collegium to reconsider 20 files related to the appointment of High Court judges, including advocate Saurabh Kirpal, who spoke about his gay status. Earlier, without naming Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju, the bench of Justices Sanjay, Kishan, Kaul and A.S. Oka expressed reservations over the comments of the minister on the collegium system. So what is this tussle all about? And why is this rift between the centre and the judiciary concerning? Let's unbreak this news.
The Constitution of India is a religious document for everybody, especially for the government. Anything which is alien to the Constitution, merely by a decision taken by the court or some judges, how do you expect that the decision will be backed by the people of the country? Collegium system is alien to the Indian Constitution. You tell me under which provision the collegium system has been prescribed. But because the Supreme Court, in its own wisdom, through a court ruling or through a case judgment known as first judge's case, created a collegium. Now that collegium, whether the Supreme Court Collegium or High Court Collegiums, they recommend the name. And government has to do due diligence. Prior to 1991, all the judges are appointed by the government.
That was a controversial comment of Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju. He was responding to a question on the collegium system and the ensuing delays in judicial appointments. Continuing his attack on the collegium system, the Union Law Minister asked the judiciary not to say that the government was sitting on the files. He said, then appoint judges yourself and you run the show.
What I'm saying is, as long as the collegium system is prevailing, I have to respect the system. But if you expect the government should merely sign the name to be appointed as a judge, just because it is recommended by the collegium, what is the role of government then? I don't want to criticize the collegium just because I don't like it. But I just want to point out that there are loopholes, there are things, people are now raising voices that this system is not transparent, bit of opacity is there, and also there is no accountability. So government is doing certain things which government is expected to do. So never say that government is sitting on the files. Then don't send the files to the government. You appoint yourself, you run the show then.
Rijiju's continued criticism of the collegium system did not augur well with the Supreme Court. Responding to his attacks, addressing the Attorney General, Justice Kaul expressed his displeasure over the comments of the minister. After the centre rejected 20 names of High Court judges and asked the Supreme Court to reconsider the 20 files, the Supreme Court said that the centre could not hold back names without exactly mentioning its reservations. The bench said, you cannot hold the names back without stating your reservations. I did not comment on the High Court names since 4 months had not elapsed, but these names have been pending since 1.5 years. You're frustrating the method of appointment. We only issued notice to find out the problem. Amongst the 20 cases that were being discussed was also the case of advocate Saurabh Kirpal, who had spoken about his gay status. Last year, the collegium headed by the then Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana had recommended the elevation of Saurabh.
I think the weight has been taken so long because I have already said this in many other spaces. The reason is my sexuality. I don't think the government necessarily wants to appoint openly gay person to the bench. And that's, of course, not the stated reason. And that is part of the problem with the collegium system. They don't give reasons as to why they've taken a decision. But that's also then the problem with the government not following the law as is. They don't give reasons as to why they're sitting on certain files.
As the confrontation between the executive and the judiciary continued, the Supreme Court on Monday indicated that the government is perhaps holding back some of the appointments because it is not happy about the apex court striking down the National Judicial Appointments Commission, which the Modi government established as a replacement to the collegium system. Under the current norms, the government can ask for reconsideration of a collegium's recommendation, but they are bound to clear it if reiterated. The convention is that the entire process must be completed within 4 months of the first recommendation.
Finally, criticism about the collegium. I thought I had reserved the best for the last. No institution in democracy or in a constitutional democracy is perfect. But we work within the existing framework of the Constitution as it is interpreted and given to us. And all the judges of the collegium, including me, we are faithful soldiers who implement the Constitution. When we talk of imperfections, our solution is to work our way within the existing system.
The collegium system has its roots in the 3 cases called the judges' cases in India. In 1981, in the first judges' case, the judges suggested that the executive must have primacy over deciding on judicial appointments. In 1993, in the second judges' case, it was said that the CJI must be given priority in such appointments. This was again reiterated in the third judges' case in 1998. Since then, the collegium system has taken over the appointment of judges. But the ongoing tussle between the centre and the judiciary will have much larger implications that go beyond the judges' appointment, as we saw in the case of the appointment of the election commissioner. But law experts say that the only solution to this is to give neither the judiciary nor the executive the primacy, but have a system in place that makes both the executive and the judiciary accountable for their decisions.